beginning of August, Donald Trump fired basically six of the seven members of the oversight board. To this date, he hasn't replaced them. I think the expectation is that he'll replace them sometime in September or October. And it kind of happened after this pressure campaign for that was going underway for a couple months, led by some far right figures. So Laura Loomer is a big one who, she's this activist who apparently has the Trump's ear and is very involved in White House affairs. And their kind of excuse for firing them was a lot of this stuff that we've been talking about of like, oh, they've been bad for Puerto Rico. Look at this, they spend so much money, and Puerto Rico's still struggling, which is true. But I at least don't believe, and I don't think most reasonable people should believe that Trump is especially concerned about the Puerto Rican people, right? And that he's looking out for our best interests. No, what most people are pretty sure is happening and pretty sure is going to happen is that Trump is going to appoint some people to the board who are even friendlier to these, billionaires and bondholders and vulture funds who are going to seek to make sure that those companies can profit even more, even if it means that Puerto Ricans have to suffer more. So, for example, right now, one of the big fights is that a couple of these, hedge funds want the electricity prices to be increased in Puerto Rico, which they're already like the highest in the U.S., one of the highest in the world. Let's hike the rates up even more so that there can be more money in the coffers, so that Puerto Rico, so that the bondholders can make more money. So this is the fight they were having in court, and they were losing in court. So, I think there's some kind of lobbyist pressure and say, let's get rid of these board members and let's bring in some new ones who will be friendlier, and we'll cut a better deal for these billionaires, many of whom, by the way, are big Trump donors. There's a big article about this in the Washington Examiner a couple of days ago that some donors to Trump might be set to make billions more from the moves Trump's been making on the board. So again, it speaks to the last question that you asked, like, why did Congress do this? It's like, well, it's kind of to preserve maximum leverage and control for the U.S. government, in this case for a government led by Trump, to be able to make the moves he wants to make and to make sure that the people that he wants to profit can profit.
Yeah, I remember back in 2017, or right after the hurricanes, 2018 and 19. I remember, I don't know if it was exactly in 2017 or 18, but I remember around that time, even Puerto Rico's sales tax, it went up to, I think, 11.5%, or something to that, close to that number, which is kind of insane, right? Because Puerto Rico's, I think, 3 times poorer than the poorest U.S. state, which is Mississippi. But yet their sales tax is higher than, say, New York City, which is insane if you think about that, right?
Yeah, Puerto Rico pays some of the highest, local taxes of anywhere in the U.S., I think, and you're absolutely right. I think twice or a little more than twice as poor as Mississippi. Half the median household income of Mississippi, which is the poorest state. 40% of people under the poverty line, including almost 60% of children. So it speaks to this point of like, there's this idea that the U.S. is keeping Puerto Rico afloat, right, or even helping Puerto Rico flourish economically, and that it would be some big socioeconomic disaster without the United States. I think 60% of children living in poverty is a pretty big socioeconomic disaster already. So,
Absolutely.
maybe we gotta rethink how we evaluate some of this stuff.